Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the induction ceremony of the Alpha Omega Gamma chapter of Phi Theta Kappa at Ashland Community and Technical College. Since being chartered as a chapter in 1994, the Alpha Omega Gamma chapter has had an induction ceremony each year, either in the month of April or May. This was to recognize those individuals that had joined the chapter that followed the preceding year. And when I say preceding year, we're talking about the fall semester and the spring semester of that year. However, the year 2020 was a year like no other that we've ever lived through. We were unable to have our in-person induction ceremony. This evening, we are holding an induction ceremony for those who would have been inducted last year and this year. So we are doing 2 years to cover both groups. The month of April has been a very busy month for the Alpha Omega Gamma chapter. We participated in the International Phi Theta Kappa Convention, which was held April 8th through 10th. We participated in the Kentucky Regional Convention, which was held on April 15th. And this evening, we conclude the month with our induction ceremony. At this time, Janet Thompson will introduce our next speaker.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet Thompson, and I am Phi Theta Kappa Advisor and Program Coordinator of Medical Information Technology here at ACTC. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Larry Ferguson, who serves as the President and CEO of Ashland Community and Technical College, a school he once attended as a student himself. Dr. Ferguson previously served as the Acting Chancellor and a Vice President for the Kentucky Community and Technical College System. He has over 25 years of leadership experience in both the private sector and higher education. He has served in executive level leadership positions with responsibilities for academic affairs and resource development. He has also been engaged in workforce development for multiple industry sectors, including manufacturing, financial services, information technology, and healthcare. Additionally, he has significant experience in economic development at both the local, state, and national levels. During his career, he has had the fortunate opportunity to serve as an instructor, college dean, vice chancellor, college president, system vice president, and system chancellor. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Larry Ferguson.
Thank you, Janet. I appreciate that introduction. When someone reads something like that, you actually feel like you've done something with your life. Good evening. I am Larry Ferguson, President of ACTC, and I welcome you to our first ever online induction ceremony for the Alpha Omega Gamma chapter of Phi Theta Kappa. You know, Phi Theta Kappa is the largest higher education honorary in the world and actually began in 1918. And the question you might think is, well, why? Well, it provides our high-achieving students, like all of you, with the opportunity to merge academic performance and community service. At ACTC, our Alpha Omega Gamma chapter has a long, distinguished history of success, as Professor Bailey just talked about. This year, we achieved 4-star status. In any year, that is a major accomplishment, and during a pandemic, it's just outstanding. And our inductees this evening will almost certainly be our community leaders of tomorrow. And just for curiosity, nationally, 38% of community college students complete their associate degree or transfer on to a 4-year college. But 91% of Phi Theta Kappa members complete their associate degree and or transfer to a 4-year college. There are 4 hallmarks of Phi Theta Kappa, and I'd like to talk just briefly about those. Scholarship, which is the character, the qualities, the activities, the attainments of a scholar, a learned person. Phi Theta Kappa has a rigorous academic requirement for admission and for continued membership, which you've met. The society brings together the top students at ACTC who will combine their scholarly prowess with a multitude of talents and abilities to make an impact on our campuses and in our communities. Leadership. This is the office or position of a leader, the capacity to lead, the act or an instance of leading. Members of Phi Theta Kappa will have numerous leadership opportunities both on and off campus, and some members will be elected to an office at the chapter, at regional or even international levels. Others, through active membership, will emerge as campus and community leaders. Through organizing and conducting chapter activities, members improve their organizational and communication skills, sharpen their problem-solving abilities, and become effective leaders. 3, service. The act of serving, a helpful act, useful labor that does not necessarily produce a tangible commodity. Phi Theta Kappa has over 1.3 million members. When you have that many individuals of high intellect and character, a lot can be done. Phi Theta Kappa is known for its generosity and dedication to making a difference in our world. And the society provides an organized forum through which members can work together to effect change. The society includes tremendously talented and capable individuals like you who truly do reach out and help. And 4, fellowship, a community of interest or activity experience, the state of being a fellow or associate. Phi Theta Kappa brings together a highly motivated group of talented scholars who share the bond of academic excellence. Through your chapter's activities, members will be able to make friends at all levels of our college organization. And in addition, they will have a tremendous interaction with our ACTC faculty and staff at all levels and community leaders. Activities are often designed to include members' families and friends as well. In a speech that President John F. Kennedy wrote for that fateful day in Dallas, he said that leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. All of my academic credentials are in the field of leadership, and I wholeheartedly believe what President Kennedy wrote. Phi Theta Kappa is more than just an honor society. It's the opportunity to grow and develop the next generation of leaders in our community, our Commonwealth, and the nation. I would like to congratulate all of the students online tonight for being selected to join this prestigious society of learners and leaders. And as we move forward, I personally, as well as Phi Theta Kappa advisors Dan Bailey and Cindy Shelton and Janet Thompson, and our CEO, Dr. Todd Brand, who you will hear from shortly, we're all committed to making sure your experience in Phi Theta Kappa is meaningful and impactful in your lives. Again, congratulations and all the best as you move forward with your academic pursuits.
Thank you, Dr. Ferguson. And my name is Cindy Shelton, and I'm a professor of mathematics here at the college, and I also have the privilege of being a PTK advisor. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for this evening, Dr. Samuel Todd Brand. Dr. Brand is ACTC's Dean of Academic Affairs. He is a native of Mississippi who has spent over 2 decades working in the field of education. Prior to his appointment as academic dean at ACTC, he served as a high school speech teacher, high school basketball coach, community college faculty member, community college basketball coach, and community college division chair. Dr. Brand's academic background is communication, in which he earned undergraduate and graduate degrees and holds a doctorate in community college leadership. He started his career in television and radio with stints as an on-air talent for ESPN Radio and also participated in community theater productions such as A Time to Kill. Dr. Brand is an enthusiastic supporter of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. As an added bonus, he has a son who is a current member, and we are honored to host him as our guest speaker for the 2021 virtual induction event. Please welcome Dr. Brand.
Wow. I want to thank all of the leadership from PTK tonight for the opportunity to speak to this group. It's quite an honor. And as a communication person and scholar, I've been totally fascinated by our society's move to alternative modes of communication. And I've got to be honest with this group. I'm a face-to-face speaker, and I really miss that environment of being with people. And that may be a generational thing, as I am a member of Generation X. But I think if I were a member of Generation Y, Z, or even a millennial, I'd still have this personality. So I really wish that I were with you all this evening, and I'm very excited about this occasion that we all gather on. My introducer, Professor Shelton, said, I am from Mississippi. I am the guy from way down south who's come in to be CAO. Last year was actually my first year, so I'm the guy with the southern drawl who is always over in the Good Pasture building. And because of this pandemic, I haven't been able to get out as much and meet our students, but I do look forward to the opportunity to meeting all of you soon, hopefully in the near future. There's two things I want to talk about this evening with this group. And one was kind of assigned to me when I was asked to speak. I was asked to speak about my involvement with PTK and kind of what the organization means to me throughout my career. And that is something I'm absolutely excited about talking about. And the second is a challenge that I'm going to give you all that involves one of the 4 hallmarks of the organization. So to give you a little bit of background of my involvement with PTK, my first introduction to the organization occurred when I was first getting into my doctoral program. I have, as Professor Shelton said, a PhD in community college leadership from Mississippi State University. When our program was created, our founders were adamant about 2 things. 1, that we focus on rural colleges, and 2, they wanted PTK involved in the process. So believe it or not, the first course that I took in my program was higher education leadership. And we actually had that class held at PTK headquarters. And if you don't know where PTK International headquarters is, believe it or not, it's in Jackson, Mississippi, the capital of my home state. Go figure that. So I got to walk into that magnificent building that first night for a class and really began a journey that would change my life. We had 2 instructors that were team teaching the class that night. One was a guy named Dr. Arthur Stump, who was a recently retired president from guess where? Kentucky. He was from Madisonville. So I got to meet a Kentucky president right off the bat. And the second was a woman named Ms. Monica Bird, and she was the PTK leadership training director at the time. And I can remember we had 2 books for that course. One was a leadership book by, I think, an author named Nordhaus. And then the second was this huge 3-ring binder that was full of materials from PTK that they used in their instruction for PTK certified leadership instructors. And that class was a great experience for me personally. And I actually did some additional training when it was over, so that as the class finished, I was actually a PTK certified instructor myself. And that's something that I've been very proud of for almost 2 decades now. And as I progressed through my program, we continued to have classes at the PTK campus, as several of their employees were involved in obtaining my same degree, including the executive director of the organization. So I've always had good relationships and have felt a close bond with this prestigious organization. So after getting my degree, I moved to Meridian Community College in Meridian, Mississippi, and I was involved with PTK there as well. 2 faculty members that I supervised were actually our advisors for PTK, both out of the communication area. And one of them, Dr. Amy Walgamot, was actually regional coordinator for the Mississippi, Louisiana region for 8 years. Our chapter was the New Epsilon chapter, and we always had great participation from students as well as faculty. And while I was there, we created an honors college at MCC, and we incorporated the PTK materials into the creation of that honors college as well, just as my university did with the creation of their PhD program. So although I've never served as a PTK advisor, I have been heavily involved with the organization for almost 2 decades. In my career as faculty and administrator, I've made probably hundreds of presentations, but one of my favorites was when I was the keynote speaker at the Mississippi, Louisiana Regional PTK Conference in 2009. The topic that year I can remember to this day was the paradox of affluence, and I remember most of that presentation. All of these instances, though, of PTK being involved in my life really pale in comparison to one of the proudest moments, and that's one that I experienced as a parent, as I saw my own son be inducted into the organization at Meridian Community College just a couple of years ago. For one of my own children to be part of such a prestigious organization that had been a part of my life for so many years and was so associated with scholarly excellence really gave me a fantastic feeling. He was now a part of a community of scholars, servants, and leaders like you are. And if that seems familiar, that's going to segue me to the second part of my speech, which is the hallmarks. As you heard Dr. Ferguson, our president, talk about, there are those 4 hallmarks that are the backbone of what the PTK organization is all about. And I'm sure by now you're familiar with them, but just to go back over them one more time, as Dr. Ferguson said, there's leadership, scholarship, fellowship, and service. And I want to touch on one of those briefly tonight, and that's scholarship. Scholarship is defined by Oxford Languages as academic study or achievement, learning at a high level. Merriam-Webster defines it as the character, quality, activities, or attainment of a scholar. And finally, dictionary.com, you got to have 3 sources, defines it as learning, knowledge acquired by study, the academic attainments of a scholar. Scholarship has many facets. One of the ways that I define a scholar is through attributes or characteristics. So I'm going to ask you to maybe think about that just for a moment. There's one in particular I want to focus on tonight, but let's talk about just a few. When I think about scholarship and a scholar, I think about humility, because scholars are humble. Curiosity, as scholars are intellectually curious. Passion, scholars are passionate about learning. Wisdom, all scholars wish to be wise. And I would add one more, and this may be the most important one of all. And this takes me all the way back to my days of training to be a PTK certified instructor, and that's ethics. Scholars must be ethical. This is one of the most important things, in my opinion, that makes PTK's approach to both leadership and scholarship second to none. It's the emphasis on ethics. I'm going to give you some big picture and small picture views tonight, but let me say unequivocally that ethics and being an ethical scholar are a must for your life from this point forward. If you're going to be a leader, if you're going to be a scholar, the importance cannot be overstated. As a community college administrator and hopefully a president one day, I can tell you that ethics is at the forefront of what we do. I can tell you that most job ads, for example, for college presidents now include the requirement that the candidate be an ethical leader. My wife, Miss Amy Brand, once served as a CFO for a college in Mississippi, and those same words were in her job description. They actually went a step farther, as the college's policies manual said that the CFO and the CEO were 2 positions where ethics were of utmost significance. One exercise I used to do with my students in my communication classes back in Mississippi was I would ask them to think about professions that people like to gripe about, maybe professions that catch a bad rap, so to speak. And so the students would usually come up with several ideas. One would always be politicians, salespersons, and attorneys. And I would ask them, so what's the issue with those 3 groups? Is it a competency issue or is it a character issue? And overwhelmingly, the students would say character. We're back to ethics. I can tell you in 2008, a major Southern newspaper, the Clarion Ledger, did a poll of their readers. They asked readers in a vote what was more important to them, voting for a politician who could do the job or voting for a good person. 89% of the respondents chose option B. Ethics matter. So what does he mean by ethics, you may ask? So let's get some examples. Let's go small picture first. A friend asks you for your password for your HBO Max account, so he or she can watch the new Mortal Kombat movie. I watched it last week and it's really good, by the way. But they don't have a subscription. Do you give it to them? All right, here's another. You and 2 friends are taking a class together. You're having a test online due to the pandemic. You were instructed not to work together, and the test isn't proctored. Your friends want to work together on the test. Do you do it? Big picture. You're a car salesperson. You work on commission. You're 3 cars short from making your salary. Any pressure to cut corners as your rent's coming due? Let's go really big. You're CEO of a pharmaceutical company, and you found a possible side effect of the drug that your company has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in developing, and this will send you back to the initial testing phase. Your competitor is also racing to market to get a similar drug developed. You figure out you can probably hide this. What if this drug's one of the vaccines for COVID? What I want you to know is that ethics matter. No matter how small the situation, ethics matter. Now, I know that sometimes it seems like they don't in our society. Do bad people get ahead? Absolutely. People ask me, Dr. Brand, don't people do unethical things every day? Yes. Do some people not get caught? Sure. Unfortunately, that's the way life works. So why do it? Why be ethical? Why care about ethics? That's the challenge that I give you. That's what you've got to figure out as a scholar, because I think that being an ethical person means you have to examine yourself in the world you live in. It's part of scholarship. It's the challenge of the scholar. And I think a good starting point is to ask Aristotle himself. Going back to the times of the ancient Greeks, I challenge you to look at his work, Ethica Nicomacheia, or the Nicomachean Ethics. It's literally a handbook for how to live. In this work, Aristotle argued that the highest good for humanity is a Greek word called eudaimonia. It's a word that translates into well-being or happiness. So literally, this is a book on how to be happy. He argued that happiness is an ongoing and stable dynamic. It involves action that's appropriate to the human soul at its most excellent or virtuous state. The whole work is a treatise on ethics and ethical behavior. Now, I'm not saying that everyone in this virtual room has to become an ethicist, but I will argue tonight that one cannot separate ethics from scholarship, and one cannot separate ethics from leadership, and that ethics must permeate every part of our lives. That's where I'm going to leave you tonight, with just a little bit, hopefully to whet your appetite. I hope I've made some of you curious, because remember, intellectual curiosity is also a characteristic of scholarship. I want to thank you for allowing me to say a few words tonight. I don't want to take up too much time because we're here to celebrate you, your achievements, and your induction into this wonderful organization. So I'm going to leave you with a few words from Aristotle himself. In his work, Nicomachean Ethics, he said, "Freedom is obedience to self-formulated rules. These virtues are formed in humans by the doing of actions. The good of humanity is a working of the soul in the way of excellence in a complete life." Congratulations to all of our inductees tonight, and thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful speech, Dr. Brand. I would like to take a moment to recognize some of the special awards given on behalf of the Phi Theta Kappa Alpha Omega Gamma chapter this year. Steve Woodburn, Dean of Student Success and Enrollment Services at ACTC, was presented with a Distinguished Administrator Award in the Kentucky region for his support of our Phi Theta Kappa chapter. We are thrilled to honor Dean Woodburn with this distinction as he works tirelessly to provide our students many opportunities for achievement and growth. Dan Bailey, who introduced our ceremony this evening, was honored with the Horizons Advisor Award for his enthusiastic support of ACTC's Phi Theta Kappa chapter, and he has served in this role for going on 30 years. We are grateful to have a seasoned advisor such as Dan Bailey to guide our chapter. The ACTC Phi Theta Kappa chapter was also honored with a second runner-up distinction for their 2020 college project on educating and encouraging individuals to participate in the census. We are thrilled with the current success of our chapter and understand it is largely attributed to the great students, administrators, and advisors that all comes together to work toward the same goal of academic achievement, community involvement, and leadership development. I would now like to introduce our current chapter president, James Allen Polly Barker, and current PTK officers to proceed with our induction ceremony.
Hello, my name is James Allen Polly Barker, and I am the chapter president of ACTC Pi Theta Kappa Alpha Omega Gamma chapter. Honored guests, honored PTK officers, honored dean, honored advisors, and fellow Pi Theta Kappa members. I am pleased to present to you these candidates for membership in the Honor Society. These students have fulfilled all requirements for membership and have selected because they have chosen scholarship, leadership, service, fellowship as their hallmarks. I recommend them for their acceptance in the Alpha Omega Gamma chapter of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. Officers and members, you are about to be inducted into the Scholarly Fellowship, which embraces community colleges, not only for your own state, but of the nation and the world. The fellowship is Pi Theta Kappa, and your chapter is Alpha Omega Gamma. After induction, you will find among the members an atmosphere of scholarship to which you must give yourself in order that the organization may be meaningful to you.
I have a torch, symbolic of knowledge, which is the servant of wisdom, which dwells with prudence and leads in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of judgment. I have a white rose, typifying purity and beauty of life, signifying intellectual associations. I give you this rose as a symbol of our newly formed intellectual friendship. I am going to describe the emblem of Phi Theta Kappa. It consists of a golden slab, keyed at the top and bottom. The golden field, like the echelon of our coat of arms, refers to the golden opportunities that abound on every hand for society folk to evidence their culture and perform good works. Since gold is the most noble of metals, it shall further significance to our society, for it shall represent that nobility attained by those who achieve intellectual leadership. Across the slab, you will observe a black band. It represents three ideals which bind us together, and the cultural self-control, which is necessary foundation for true wisdom, aspiration, and purity. Shining through the black enamel background are three Greek letters, which are the initials of the Greek words meaning wisdom, aspiration, and purity.
Behind the band is a wreath, on the one side composed of oak leaves and on the other laurel. The oak leaves stand for stability and strength of character, as symbolized by the sturdy oak. The graceful curing leaves of the laurel signify achievement and success, all attributes for membership in our society. Above the band is representation of the head of Athena, a symbol of learning, in the base. In the base appear the Greek letters meaning light, the light of knowledge and learning, the common ideal for members of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. The badge stands for a symbol for the high idealism of our organization and membership in our select group.
You have now studied the constitution of this organization, the purpose of which is to foster a spirit of devotion to study and to scholar ideals among its members, and whose principles are embodied in the initials of the Greek words phronemen, thumos, katharotes, meaning wisdom, aspiration, and purity.
We will now present the candidates for induction into ACTC's Alpha Omega Gamma chapter of Phi Theta Kappa for the fall 2019 and spring 2021 semesters. Christopher James Bradley. Charles Bundy. Desiree Carter. Austin Clifton. Brittany Cochran. Michael Coffey and Teresa Coffey. Desiree Cook. Julie Cooksey. Tanner Scott Dickerson. Amanda Dawn Dillow. Sheena Donta. Lacey Estep. Kristen Nicole Fallaway. April Dawn Gilbert. Jennifer Gilkerson. Alexis Griffith. Rachel Halterman. Kylie Henderson. Seth Fielden Hunt. Amanda Jarvis. Erica Johnson. Shane Johnson. Veronica Kirk. Caitlin Hannah Lindsay. Catherine Lively. Maya Madden. Megan Magruder, Bridget LaRae McClendon, Timothy McKinney, Lane Meek, Joseph Merrill Jr., Eric Todd Moyers, James Allen Polly Barker, Amanda Perry, David Porter, Brenda Elaine Ritchie, Haley Rosser, Hannah Royster, James Thomas Salyer, Lakey Susanna Sanders, Haley Sexton, Andrea Lee Schaefer, Luca Sharp, Tabitha Skaggs, Scott Staniski, Ashley Lynn Thomas, Shamay Nicole White, Kayla Ariana Wilburn, Ashton Welker. We want to say congratulations to all of our newly inducted members to ACTC's Alpha Omega Gamma chapter of Phi Theta Kappa. It is my pleasure to welcome you into this honor society and the lively fellowship of scholars it affords. I salute you for your accomplishment. I charge you to explore always for truth and to dedicate yourself to the cultivation of the well-reasoned life, a prelude to service and honor. As we conclude our ceremony this evening, we would like to invite you to come celebrate with us. We are going to have a drop-in reception. It will be next Thursday, May 6th. You can stop by anytime between the hours of 3 to 6 p.m. in the John and Pat Stewart Boardroom, located in the LRC building at College Drive campus. We hope to see you there. And congratulations to all of our inductees. This concludes our ceremony. We'd like to extend our thanks again to Dr. Ferguson and Dr. Brand for joining us. And we wish you the best in your academic endeavors. Thank you so much for joining us.